India and Australia on Saturday signed an interim free trade agreement to boost bilateral economic and trade cooperation, a key pact inked to not only take the economic trajectory of both countries to level next, but also it is seen as an attempt to break the trade barriers. Now, with this pact being implemented, India-Australia bilateral trade is expected to rise from existing $27 billion to $45 billion in the coming next 5 years, and notably India's exports to Australia have grown the highest in the last 12 months. Prime Minister Modi has called signing of a pact as watershed moment in Indo Australia ties. Here's more.
My dear and close friend, Prime Minister Modi, I welcome our agreement today as a first step towards full comprehensive economic cooperation agreement between our two great nations by the end of the year. And I thank you for your commitment and perseverance in securing this great achievement.
Australian Prime Minister Scott Morrison thanking the PM, describing the signing of the India-Australia Economic Cooperation and Trade Agreement as historic and calling PM Modi his close friend with whose efforts the agreement took shape. This only reiterates what is being viewed as a win-win deal for both the countries, as India and Australia on Saturday inked a key pact to boost economic ties in an attempt to break the trade barriers. Speaking on the occasion, Prime Minister Narendra Modi said that consensus on such an important agreement in such a short period of time shows the mutual trust between the two countries and is watershed moment for India-Australia bilateral relations.
इतने कम समय में ऐसे महत्वपूर्ण एग्रीमेंट पर सहमति बनना यह दिखाता है कि दोनों देशों के बीच कितना आपसी विश्वास है। यह हमारे द्विपक्षीय रिश्तों के लिए सचमुच एक वाटरशेड मोमेंट है। हमारी अर्थव्यवस्थाओं के बीच एक दूसरे की आवश्यकताओं को पूरा करने का बहुत पोटेंशियल है। मुझे पूरा विश्वास है कि इस एग्रीमेंट से हम इन अवसरों का पूरा लाभ उठा पाएंगे।
Prime Minister Modi further added that on the basis of the agreement, both countries will be able to contribute to the increasing supply chain resilience and stability of the Indo-Pacific region.
इस समझौते के आधार पर हम साथ मिलकर सप्लाई चेन्स की रेजिलियंस बढ़ाने और इंडो पैसिफिक क्षेत्र की स्टेबिलिटी में भी योगदान कर पाएंगे। फ्रेंड्स, पीपल टू पीपल ये रिश्ते भारत ऑस्ट्रेलिया मित्रता का महत्वपूर्ण स्तंभ है। यह एग्रीमेंट हमारे बीच स्टूडेंट्स, प्रोफेशनल्स और पर्यटकों का आदान प्रदान आसान बनाएगा, जिससे ये संबंध और मजबूत होंगे।
Describing the signing of agreement as a milestone in India-Australia economic relationship, Australian PM Scott Morrison added it will facilitate cheaper Australian goods to India. He described as remarkable the pace and scale of cooperation between India and Australia.
The signing of the Indus Agreement, the Australia-India Economic Cooperation and Trade Agreement. This agreement further develops on the promise of our economic relationship, realises it. It will facilitate cheaper Australian goods to India, wool, horticulture, coal, LNG amongst many others, supporting India's economic growth and development. It will unlock deeper cooperation in critical minerals and rare earths, which I know is an area of increasing importance to India's growing manufacturing sector and a very common topic of our discussions as part of the Quad Leaders Dialogue, which I share with Prime Minister Modi. That the pace and scale of our cooperation since we announced our comprehensive strategic partnership has been remarkable. Some $282 million in new initiatives that my government has announced, including at the summit, which will drive our expanding cooperation. This is the single largest Australian government investment in our relationship with India, but it won't be the last.
The India-Australia Economic Cooperation and Trade Agreement was signed by Union Minister of Commerce and Industry Piyush Goyal and Australian Minister for Trade Dan Tehan in a virtual ceremony in the presence of Prime Minister Narendra Modi and his Australian counterpart Scott Morrison. Commerce and Industry Minister contended bilateral trade between India and Australia is expected to touch between 45 to 50 billion US dollars over the next 5 years.
The Indus Ekta would remove barriers to trade and will open a plethora of opportunities in both goods and services for both nations. It is expected that the bilateral trade would go from the existing 27 billion US dollars to nearly 45 to 50 billion US dollars over the next 5 years. There is huge potential in areas like textiles, pharmaceuticals, hospitality, gem and jewelry, and IT, amongst others, creating huge employment in both countries. I am confident that this multifaceted and forward-looking Indus Ekta will take our ties to greater heights.
The India-Australia ECTA, encompassing trade in goods and services, is a balanced and equitable trade agreement designed to further cement the strategic relations between the two countries and will significantly enhance the bilateral trade in goods and services, create new employment opportunities, raise living standards and improve the general welfare of the people of the two countries. Newsnight Desk, DD India.